All right. I wasn't going to film this. I walked over, got in the car, completely dead battery. It's kind of common in a body shop. Got in it, put my jump pack on it, my battery maintainer, let it charge for a couple minutes, turn the maintainer off, turn jump pack on, go to turn the key, and it doesn't even turn all the way. It's very common for these ignition switches to go out. I said, that's it. I'm just going to go up, tell them it needs an ignition switch, blah, blah, blah. So, well, before I tell them it needs an ignition switch, I should really double check in case there's something else wrong. It is a body shop. Boy, oh boy, am I glad I stopped myself, because I was about halfway up to telling the boss man, hey, just order an ignition switch. This car turned out to be quite unique. There's 3 different problems with this car. One is actually caused by the other, but we're going to go through this. I've kind of already diagnosed it, I know that, but it didn't take me long to diagnose this car. Very common, basic stuff, but I just wanted to go over this video about why you should always double check, even if you know the problem. I knew what the problem was in the beginning, but I did not know the other 2 problems unless I tested, and I followed through on my testing like you always should. Always follow through in your testing. Even like I know the key would not turn to start, I could feel it. It's okay. I followed through, and now we are good to go. So I'm going to walk you through how I did this. So there's the key. You notice it doesn't move real far. But if you turn it all the way off, by the way, this tip is brought to you by Justin Shirik, I think is how you say his name. Justin's the one who told me if you take the key, push it in real hard, then turn it, you notice how much farther it goes. See? It doesn't quite go as far. Turn it off, push it real hard, see? It goes much farther. It goes to almost here, and normally it doesn't. You can feel it. Anyway, if you want to prove that it's a switch, you can just come over here. The blue-white wire, as you can see on the diagram, comes from the start run on the switch and then goes to the PCM, goes to the starter relay, goes to a couple places. So if I turn the key, I get nothing, right? I mean, I'm lightly turning the key. If I turn it all the way off, push real hard like Justin said, then turn it, power. So we know the switch is bad, but why didn't the starter crank? I normally to test these, I just put power on the wire. It should activate the starter relay, right? Very simple. You're gonna laugh, but I never bothered to check the power supply wire into these switches because everything else worked, like the car lit up, everything worked, so I didn't check power supply, I only cared about starter. All right, so let's go over and I'm gonna show you what I found when I went under the hood because I was curious why it would not start. Take the power probe. So we're under the hood. I'll throw up the diagram of the fuse box for you, but this here is the starter relay. So since I know it's getting power, well, assuming it's getting power from the switch, I mean, the only thing that would really stop it is the diode, and I swapped diodes. They're right here. I swapped them. Nothing happened. But I have the ground here for the starter relay. I have no power coming in. This should be a constant high. So then I looked over and said, hey, this 30 amp fuse for the starter, oh, it's broken. Why is it broken? So then I put my power probe on this, the wire that's showing ground, and I hit it. And I could feel my internal circuit breaker pop. I thought, that's weird. Nothing happened. This is definitely the load side. This is definitely the starter. So I said, what happens if I go down to the starter? So I have the power going to the starter. It came over to this purple wire. It's ground. I pushed, do this and push the power, and it instantly popped my circuit breaker. The starter is shorted out, and it's like brandy new. I mean, there's like still stickers on it. It's so new. but there's some, I don't know, there's some cables frayed on it and everything else. So, I mean, it's just bad. I mean, nothing in this whole starter works, which I find kind of ironic. Trying to get back in there. It literally just pops. All right, so like I said, it became kind of interesting, right? Like, I proved the ignition switch is bad. Justin had a great tip on pushing it in to turn it. It would have started, except the starter's locked up, and it blew the fuse. So I had 3 problems with this car, and I only knew about 1. And I could feel the 1. So now they need an ignition switch. It's a whole plastic little assembly. They go bad all the time. I've done a bunch of them on the Focuses, and I think the Fusions have them as well. I did not know the Escapes had them. It's going to need a fuse, and it needs a starter. So this was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Number 1 reason why you should always follow through with your testing. I very much was going to just call this ignition switch, walk away. Got a couple things to do today. Just didn't feel comfortable saying it. I've had stuff like this burn me in the past at body shops, mostly because you don't know what was wrong with the car. I know nothing about this car. I'm sure the shop knows nothing about the car. It was in an accident. I don't know if you can see the fender's damaged. And that was it. That's all they know. So there is no history. There is nothing to go off of. It's just like, here's a car, here's the problem, fix it. So I'm glad I went back and decided to test it. I would have looked like an idiot, and now I can charge for more time in a diagnostic because I started with step 1, can write that up, hey, I found this wrong with it, but yet jumping that blue wire didn't allow the starter to run. So then I had to go further into it, which isn't a big deal. The shop will be happy about that. They'll have all the answers. They'll be able to present the customer with an estimate, or the insurance company, whoever's paying for this. Going to be done in one shot. Any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks.